Hello, good day, everyone. We are already in our sixth week, and I guess you can now adapt with this what we call new normal, or should I say, a better normal. Today, we will be discussing about market integration. So let us first define it and expound its meaning. But before we proceed, again, my name is Lizette Terania, your contemporary world professor. All right, so market integration occurs when prices among different locations or related goods follow similar patterns over a long period of time. Groups of goods often move proportionally to each other, and when this relation is very clear among different markets, it is said that the markets are integrated. It could also be concluded that market integration is an indicator that explains how much different markets are related to each other. So, an example of a market integration is a Coca Cola company. So Coca-Cola Company started in 1886 and they maintained the same price for a very long period of time, delivering to the militaries in the United States until it reaches over 200 countries in the world. So this company of course tried to market beverages at a very low price in order for them to expand their business in other countries. They also made sure that the price is also marketable to the same foreign countries because different countries have different cultures and they also have different buying culture. That is why they need to study it, they need to have strategies in order to move from one country to another, and that is an example of a market integration. So last time we've tackled about the global economy. Now we will proceed to the role of international financial institution in the creation of global economy. So IFI or International Financial Institution is chartered by more than one country and therefore are subject to international law. Its owners or shareholders are generally national governments, although other international institutions and other organizations occasionally figure as shareholders. Example, if the Philippines is a member of this financial institution, automatically our country is one of the shareholders of it and of course has the right to borrow money from it to be able to use it in the country's progress and development. So the most prominent IFIs are creations of multiple nations. Although some bilateral financial institution, when we say bilateral, it means created by two countries, exists and technically IFI. And the best known IFI were established after World War II to assist in the reconstruction of Europe and provide mechanisms for international cooperation in managing the global financial system. So, what are these international financial institutions? Number one, the International Monetary Fund or IMF. So this is an international organization headquartered in Washington, D.C. This fosters global monetary cooperation. When we say monetary, we talk about money. Okay? It secures financial stability, facilitate international trade, promote high employment and sustainable economic growth, and of course, helps reduce poverty around the world. Okay, the second one is the Multicultural Development Bank that includes the following. So let's start with the World Bank Group. WBG is a family of five international organizations that make leverage loans to developing countries. So you know for a fact that Philippines is one of the developing countries. It is the largest and the most well known development bank in the world and is an observer at the United Nations Development Group. The second one is the African Development Bank. So, from the word itself, African. Now, this contributes to poverty reduction and economic and, of course, social development in the least developed African countries. The third one is the Asian Development Bank. It is an international development finance institution whose mission is to help in developing member countries reduce poverty and improve the quality of life of their people. So, who are the partners of the Asian Development Bank? Number one, uh, of course, government. Number two, private sector. Number three, non government organization. Number four, development agencies. Number five, community based organization. And the last one, or number six, are the different foundations. For the Inter American Development Bank, okay, we're talking about Inter American. So it is the largest source of development financing for Latin America and Caribbean member countries. For the last one, which is the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, it is an international institution whose members, okay, comprise 60 countries, 60 countries. It operates in the central and eastern countries in Europe. Its purpose is to foster economic and democratic transition process. And of course, it promotes private and entrepreneurial initiative through provisions of loans, equity investments, and technical cooperation. And wow, I really admire this institution since it promotes entrepreneurial initiative. Why? Because they are setting the people to have an entrepreneurial mind. Because here in the Philippines, our culture is to always look for a job. Okay, look for a job and not to create jobs. It is really important that we should have a mindset of creating jobs by starting to put up a business. Okay, even if it is a small business, we know that even if it is a not so big business, if the people is earning, okay, if the people are earning to have a living and savings, then they are trying to help the country's economy. So if you observe, you can actually see that these financial institutions play a very important role in every country's economy. Now, let's have these membership compositions of IFIs. Number one, only sovereign countries are admitted as member owners. So when we say sovereign, it means possessing supreme or ultimate power. Number two, broad country membership to include borrowing, developing countries, and developed donor countries. Number three, membership in regional development banks include countries around the world as members. And the last one, it has its own independent legal and operational state. So, what are the main objectives? Number one, IMF provides temporary financial assistance to member countries to help ease balance of payment adjustments. Number two, MDBs provides financing for development to developing countries through, of course, number one, long-term loans, and the other one is very long-term loans. So for long-term loans, it has the maturity of 20 years at interest rates way below the market rates. Of course, funding comes from international capital markets and relent to borrowing government in developing countries. So imagine if you have if our government borrowed money from this financial institution and it will be paid for 20 years. So if you are 20 years old now, at the age of 40, that's the time that we have paid already in this financial institution. Okay? And then the next one is very long-term loans that sometimes called credits with maturities at 30 to 40 years, at interest rates below the market rates. So funding for loans come from direct contributions by government in the donor countries. And then grant financing by some MDBs for financial or technical assistance, advisory service, or project preparation. Now, let us proceed to global corporation. So global corporation is known as global economy. It is coined from the base term global, which means around the world. It is one that operates in more than one country, and this is generally referred as multinational corporations. It is a company that operates in two or more countries, leveraging the global environment to approach varying markets in attaining revenue generation. So these international operations are pursued as a result of strategic potential provided by technological developments, making new markets a more convenient and profitable pursuit both in sourcing production and pursuing growth. Okay, so it is mentioned already that the term global means around the world. But if you are operating in one country and you are selling products around the world and shipping them to customer countries in, let's say, for example, in Europe, while you are here in the Philippines, does not mean that you are already a global company. You know what? It takes more than that to be called or to earn the name a global company. So for you to become a global company, you need to introduce not only your product, but also your company or your business to people who live in another country. Example, I have told you a while ago that Coca-Cola started in 1886. Okay? You know what? Coca-Cola maintained 5 cents in the market, which also struggled to get by. But but now Coca-Cola sells its beverages in more than 200 countries around the world. Okay? So another example is Usana Health Sciences Incorporated. I am one of the business associate of Usana Health Sciences. And it is located in actually it is located or it started in the United States. But you know what? Usana has this company in over 26 countries. Imagine it has already in 26 countries and they are sharing the products and also sharing the business. And of course, they have these strategies on how they can market the product to this country because I told you a while ago that we have this what we call buying culture. And you know what? We have here in the Philippines. Okay? We have in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. It started in 2009, okay, until now. All right, so we are already 11 years in the country. And that is an example of a global corporation because it reaches 26 countries already. So, what is the importance of multinational corporation or global corporation? So, international operations are therefore a direct result of either achieving higher levels of revenue or a lower cost structure within the operations or value chain. MNC operations often attain economies of scale through mass producing in external markets at substantially cheaper costs or economies of scope through horizontal expansion. Okay, so it's horizontal expansion into new geographic markets. If successful, these both result in positive effects on the income statement but contain the innate risk in developing these new opportunities. And you know what? The significance or importance of this global corporation is that, for example, if your company is in different markets all over the world, it will not just be affected by any circumstances like recession, your company has this what we call financial stability. So why is global corporation important? Number one, operating in more countries means access to more customers, which means more revenue and profit. So if you sell goods, higher volume can reduce costs, meaning the more products that are being sold, the more profit that the company can get. So if you are also in services on the other hand, you have the opportunity to hire more talent, which can bring in new ideas and can give or open new opportunities. So those are the opportunities that you haven't even considered yet. The second one is operating in global markets is also a good way to reduce risk, to leverage new opportunities. So if you are working in different country with its owner economy, it can serve as a buffer should there be a lag. Okay, it can serve as a buffer should there be a lag. So let alone a recession in your country, and our company or this company will not just be affected by this recession. All right, so let's have the global interstate system. It is the whole system of human interactions. The modern world system is structured politically as an interstate system, a system of competing and allying states. Political scientists commonly call this the international system, and this is the focal point of the field of international relations. So, this explains the effort of different countries and governments all over the world to have cooperation and collaboration. So, examples are the IMF and the WB or World Bank. So, world systems are defined by existence of division of labor. It has a multi-state political structure, and therefore its division of labor is international division of labor. So let's talk about the division of labor as mentioned in the previous slide. So core, semi-periphery, and the periphery. So what is core? These are the high-income nations in the world economy. This is the manufacturing base of the planet where resources funnel in to become the technology and wealth enjoyed by the Western world today. So these core are dominant capitalist countries that exploit peripheral countries for labor and of course for raw materials. So what about semi-periphery? These are the middle income countries such as India and Brazil. These are considered semi-periphery due to their closer ties to the global economic core. So peripheral countries are share characteristics of both core and peripheral countries. So of course they are at the middle, okay? And then periphery called as low income countries whose natural resources or labor support the wealthier countries first as colonies and now by working for multinational corporations under neo-colonialism. The peripheral countries are dependent on core countries for capital and have underdeveloped industry. So here is the theory model of Immanuel Wallerstein's model world system. Okay, so according to Wallerstein, the world economic system is divided into three, as I have mentioned a while ago. It's the core, the semi-periphery, and the periphery. Just look at the arrow, okay, just look at the color, and you will understand, okay, its meaning. Okay, but let me discuss to you it one by one. Now, core countries like US, Japan, and Germany are dominant capitalist countries characterized by high levels of industrialization and urbanization. So, core countries, high profit consumption of goods. Ayan. Okay? Core countries are capital intensive and have high wages and high technology production patterns and lower amounts of labor exploitation and coercion. So, under semi periphery, or the semi-peripheral countries like South Korea, ayan, they are at the middle. Taiwan, Mexico, Brazil, India, Nigeria, South Africa are less developed than the core nations. Less developed than the core nations, but more developed than, of course, the peripheral nation. So they are the buffer between core and peripheral countries. Yan. And then for the peripheral countries, okay, this green, okay, going here, cheap labor and of raw materials. Okay, so, like African countries and low income countries in South America are dependent on core countries for capital and less industrialized and urbanized. So, that is the explanation of the Wallerstein world system theory model. Now, if I am going to ask you, is Philippines included in core, semi-periphery, or periphery? So that will be your assignment. Okay, you have to find out where we are included. Is it in the core? Is it in semi-periphery or the periphery nation? So let's have the history of the global market integration. It says there, before the rise of modern economy, people only produced food, okay, for their family. Nowadays, economy demands the different sectors to work together in order to produce, distribute, and exchange products and services. What caused this shift in the way people produce for their needs? Now, let us go back 12,000 years ago. Let's have the first one, the agricultural revolution. So we have three: agricultural revolution, industrial revolution, and the technological revolution. Okay, so let's have the first one. The first big economic change is agricultural revolution. That's according to Pomeranz 2000. When people learned how to domesticate plants and animals, they realized that it was more productive than hunter gatherer societies. So, this became the new agricultural economy. Farming helped societies build surpluses, meaning not everyone had to spend their time producing their foods. This led to major developments like permanent settlements, trade networks, and of course, the population growth. The next one is the Industrial Revolution, where machines are already invented. Okay, so this is the second major economic revolution in the 1800s. With the rise of the industry, new economic tools like steam engines, manufacturing, and mass production came. Factories popped up and work functions changed. Instead of working at home like what they did before, they started to work as wage laborers and then becoming more skilled and began to master their strengths in their chosen field. Overall, productivity went up, standards of living rose, and people had access to varieties of goods to mass production, okay, or of goods due to mass production. And the last one, okay, not the last one, I'm sorry. Under that, so there are two competing economic models during the IR, okay, or the Industrial Revolution. The first one is capitalism. So, what is this? So, just take a look at the picture and you will understand what a capitalism is. So, it is a system in which all natural resources and means of production are privately owned. It emphasizes profit maximization, and competition as the main drivers of efficiency. Of course, if you are competing, you are going to think of some strategies, okay, for you to become efficient, okay, the efficient company ever. And then this means that when one owns a business, he needs to outperform his competitors if he is going to succeed. He is incentivized to be more efficient by improving the quality of the product and reducing its cost. So if you're going to look at the picture, capitalism is not working. But look at these people on the right side. Diba? They said that we need jobs. Meaning, these are the skilled people, these are the most talented people who are applying for this company. And they are the people who work very hard. But the one who is gaining more profits is the owner of the company. Okay? But these people has this low income, but they are working hard or working very hard to advance, okay, to have an advancement to this, to have an advancement in this company. All right. The second one is socialism. The means of production are under collective ownership. It rejects capitalism's private property and hands-off approaches. So in here, property is owned by the government and allocated to all citizens, not only to those with the money to afford it. It emphasizes collective goals, expecting everyone to work for the common good and placing a higher value on meeting everyone's basic need than an individual profit. So that's the difference, okay? It has a very big difference between capitalism and socialism. Now, these are the differences. On the left side, capitalism, on the right side, socialism. So, capitalism is an economic system where the means of production are owned by private individuals, while on the right side, the means of production, such as money and other forms of capital, are owned by the state or public. And then companies live by the profit motive. They exist to make money. All companies have owners and managers. On the other side, under a socialist system, everyone works for wealth that is in turn distributed to everyone, okay, for the good of everyone in this country. And then on the left side again, it is the government's job by enforcing laws and regulation to make sure that there is a level playing field for privately run companies. But on the right side, the government decides how wealth is distributed among the people. They provide for the people. And that is the responsibility, of course, of our national government. So this is the last, okay, information revolution. And this is our time, the rise of technology. So this reduced the role of human labor and shifted it from manufacturing-based economy to one that is based on the service work and the production of ideas rather than goods. This had residual effects on the economy, of course, because of mass production. Computer technology is at root of this change, and continuing advancement in that technology seemed to ensure that this revolution would touch the lives of the people. So if you have visited Lockheed Company and Gardenia Company, you will see there that uh, machines are being used in the production. So that is why they have there is what we call reduction in the role of human labor. And of course, I know you know, and I know you have seen already in one of the core nations like Japan, robots can now function as human. So this is also an example of the rise of an artificial intelligence or AI. And okay, so we are done already with our lesson. So I hope you guys understand it. For activities, I am just going to post it in our Google Classroom. So thank you so much. Once again, this is Lizette Terania, your professor in Contemporary World.